Good evening. I call to order the Bethany City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 4th, 2018. Would you please rise for the flag salute and the prayer? John, will you lead our flag salute and prayer?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, let the words of our lips and the meditation of our heart be pleasing unto you. Give us the guidance, the wisdom, Lord, as we carry out your will, to do what's best for you, to glorify your kingdom, and to do what's best for our city, for our residents. In your name. Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1 is the consent docket A through C. Do I have any questions, comments, or motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2 is consideration of possible approval of ordinance number 1959 pertaining to requirements, procedures, regulations, and permits for the installation of sidewalks. Item A is approval on ordinance 1959 on reading by title only. Do I have a motion for item A? Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item B is approval of sections 1 through 5 of ordinance 1959. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item C is the emergency clause. Do I have a motion for item C? With no motion for the emergency clause, it dies for lack of motion, so it will take place in 30 days, correct? Item 3 is consideration and possible approval of Planning and Zoning Commission appointments. Item A is Ward 1, Ron Crouch. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Please cast your votes. Item B is also Ward 1, Don Harden. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 4 is consideration and possible approval of the installation of a no left turn traffic control sign to prohibit left turns from the westbound lane of Northwest 43rd Street into the southbound lanes of Rockwell Avenue. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 5 is a citizen's opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business or services. You'll have a 3-minute limit. No action may be taken on matters under this item. Do we have anybody wishing to address the council this evening? Item 6 will be scratched from the agenda, the city attorney's report. Item 7 is the city manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all here. I would just like to summarize and say that one of my priorities has been meeting with department heads and making sure that I understand what the needs of the departments are. And so I usually end up having an hour or two in the morning with a department and then the same in the afternoon, and working through to understand budgetary issues, items that we need to include in our 5 and 10-year plans, just forecasting our expenses, working with Berkeley, our city clerk treasurer, who is doing a phenomenal job getting our finances organized, and we're still in the kind of a holding pattern until we ensure that we know what our current cash balances are before we can actually start our capital improvement projects. But I would like to say that we still continue to move forward despite not knowing exactly what those balances are. We still do know that we have money in the bank, which is a very nice thing to have. So we are continuing working. We've got our rollout of the trash can in the next couple of, really by mid-October, our intention is that everybody will be getting their new trash cans, and we're working on the rules that we will have for that, the guidelines, and then we will be submitting those things to you over the next couple of council meetings. I would like to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to know what our thinking is, and so that there are no surprises. So we continue our work on our public works, meeting with our engineer. We're also talking about some capital improvement projects related to lift stations and rehabbing those, working on streets and the priorities of our streets for resurfacing. So, weekly we meet with our traffic committee, our staff traffic committee, to discuss the things that we have talked about in our traffic committee. So lots of things going on. Last council meeting, Mr. Todd had asked me about our ADA work, and we've had several meetings since then, and I should have some things that I'm able to present to council within the next week or so that we can go out for public bid on those projects. And again, I'd like to reiterate that I am really enjoying my time here at Bethany in working with my staff. We have a dedicated team of professionals that I think everybody should be very pleased to work with. And I also am very happy to work with this council as well, and really appreciate all of your support. So thank you.
Thank you. Item 8 is City Clerk Treasurer's Report.
City Council, in the move to get to where we are submitting the reoccurring claims. I'm not certain that payroll expenditures have been reported before, but this is a summarization of the first and the second payrolls which have been processed prior to the agenda coming out. And so the detail is in the report, and it's just a summary across the departments with the total gross and the net. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. Tonight, let's start down at Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a limited voice tonight, but I'll try to push through. I don't have very many comments, but I would like to say that I had the opportunity to go along with the mayor to Washington, D.C. About 2 weeks ago. We were able to meet with several of the, or hear from, I should say, several secretaries, deputy secretaries, and assistant secretaries for the whole country. I was very optimistic. One of the things that I sought going there was to find out about possible funding for infrastructure needs, for our sewer, water, and paving types of things. We were told by several of them about congressionally approved funding streams, and some that had not been approved yet but were working through the process. We were assured that they would go through. I think that we just need to identify some of those, what the best bang for the buck will be that we can pursue. Those were grant funding, so no loans whatsoever were discussed. Actually, they did talk about a couple of possible loans, but primarily grants. And so we did have the opportunity. The vice president was not on the agenda, but the vice president did make an appearance. There was kind of a surprise to all of us. And then the next day, we were able to meet with Senator Lankford with just 5 other people in the room. So we were able to, again, talk about what our needs here in Bethany are. And I think he's very well aware. I think we've pushed him on a few things in the past. So, and we work with his local staff here. But just a quick comment on that, and I think I emailed some of the council members that kind of summary. But I was really optimistic from what I heard. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCutcheon?
I have no comments. Thank you.
Mr. Herron?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing tonight.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, serving on committees and on council can sometimes be a thankless job, and usually don't have people stand around waiting in line to thank you for your service. But I do want to thank Ron and Don of our ward, of Ward 1, for serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. It can be an extremely thankless job. You might make some people mad, you might make some people happy. You just try to do the best of what you can for everybody and cross your fingers and then go home. But I do want to thank them very much and thank all of you also, and mainly the citizens for letting us serve up here to be the temporary stewards up here, because that's all it's meant to be, is a temporary job. Temporary stewards and go back down the road. That's all I've got.
Mr. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had breakfast this past week with Mr. Dwayne Grant, and long-standing. I mean, he was one of my professors when I was going to BNC. Anyway, it seems though 20 years ago he bought a vacant piece of land on 31st Street. If there were a house there, it would be 6505 Northwest 31st Street. And now he's ready to do something with that land, only to find out there is no city sewer available in that area. I couldn't comprehend that. And so I'd like for staff to at least take a look and see, is that for real? That's what he's telling me, there's no sewer available. And the lot's too small to put a septic. The whole street, everybody there is on a septic, but this particular lot's too small for a septic. And so he's kind of in a like, okay, now what do I do? And so I said, well, I don't know if there's a sewer there or not. So if we could find out, and if there's any remedy at all, we'd appreciate it.
Dr. Harris?
I just want to share an experience I had on Saturday and would like clarification. I live across the street, so I drive past City Hall a lot. And there was a young girl on a riding mower driving around our lawn. And I thought maybe her dad's trying to teach her how to ride a mower, but why are they doing it on the city lawn? And then I saw other children, at least one other child, out working on our lawn, and then I saw a man who appeared to be out there doing lawn work, and I'd noticed that our lawn is looking pretty tacky. So have we hired a children's group or something to do our lawn work? And if so, I would suggest we take it back the way it was. Any explanation of why children were out there working on our lawn?
I can find out. I don't have an answer this moment, but I will find out.
They appeared to be working. At first I thought it was play, but not with that kind of equipment. So anyhow, I thought the people doing it before, which I thought were Public Works, did a good job. They had flowers out there. It looked really nice, and now it's looking pretty shabby. Another thing, since we have made some changes in code enforcement and are strengthening code enforcement, there are some unsightly signs still around town, and some of them belong to the city. So I know there are some old signs that say, keep Bethany something or other. I can't even read the rest of it. And they've been up and deteriorating. And then there are the big signs that used to have our names taped on them, but now the tape is coming off, and they're just pretty unsightly. I know we voted one time to leave them up, but I think it might be something that we put on the agenda to reconsider, because they're really eyesores. So those are the two things I wanted to talk about. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I want to remind everybody, we've got the 5K coming up in October, I think, is sponsored by the city. So I think that's a great event that everybody should participate in. I'm making plans to be there as well, so I hope to see everybody, but that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I got a few things I wanted to cover. Also, jumping in with Vice Mayor Knapp on the DC trip, they really talked about wanting to work closer with local government. And so when we got home, I decided to see if they were sincere about it, I guess. One of the people that we heard from was a gentleman that's the executive director for Department of Transportation. And so he had mentioned I forget what it was, Main Street grant, a revitalization grant or something like that. And with our Route 66 revitalization efforts, I decided to reach out to him and email him and just say, you'd mentioned this grant. Are there any other grants? And I was surprised to see that within a day he had emailed me back with links wanting to know more about the Route 66 revitalization. I forwarded on to our Economic Development Director, Hank, to kind of take it from there. But I was excited and encouraged that they actually followed up with this conference by actually responding and giving us some info and wanting more info from us. So I was excited about that and to see what's to come with that. Also, speaking about Route 66, tomorrow at the flagpole on Main Street at 9:30 in the morning, we will be there doing a ribbon cutting of sorts because OG&E's brand new technology of new LED street lights, they have been slowly putting them in. They have quite a bit more to go, but they wanted to do a PR event announcing what they were doing and announcing that Bethany is the first place in the state to get the new LED technology here on 39th Street. So excited about that and what all is going to take place with that, with OG&E and all of that. So please come out and join us if you want to come out there and see their ribbon cutting. And hopefully it's not a downpour when that's happening. Also, I would ask that people would, we lost a P&Z member this past week, Ethel, what's her, and her funeral was today, and Dr. Harris attended her funeral today, and I agree with Councilmember Moore, it's often a thankless job, and so our prayers and our heart is with her family. And also, I'd ask for people to remember Mrs. Moon in prayer. She had open heart surgery today, I believe, right, Gilbert? And so that was scheduled, and so she had that today, and she is recovering from that. Also, I'd ask that people would remember Curtis's wife, Mel, who had an accident the other day and is in the hospital recovering from that as well. So that is all that I have at this point with that. Item 10 is new business. Does anybody have any new business? I have something I would like to bring up maybe for discussion. I don't know where to go with it, but that would be our videographer's contract, kind of where we are with that and what's going on with that. He has, that came up a few council meetings ago when we were looking into issuing him a new contract. I'd like to kind of know just what's going on with that and where we are. I know he's still shown up to do council meetings and Facebook Live, and he spends a lot of hours after the fact putting it on YouTube and getting it put in rotation on Cox Channel 20, which takes some time. So I would just kind of wondering kind of where we are with that and what we need to do to move that forward.
I think he's still being paid.
Yeah,
He just
I
doesn't have a
believe so. Yeah,
contract.
so whatever we have to do to get that behind us. Does anybody else have any other new business or anything? With no more new business, I declare us adjourned until September 18th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Public Works Authority. Item 1 is consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion of approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until September 18th, 2018. I open up the Bethany Hospital Trust meeting. Item 1 is consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion of approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until September 18th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Development Authority. Item 1, consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion of approval?
So
Motion to
moved.
approve.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until September 18th, 2018. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.